Chapter 32 of Lemons, which is titled Operation Eliza Rose's Backyard. He was out there. Eliza Rose points towards the woods from her back porch later that morning. My palms are sweating. Not because of the Bigfoot, because I'm praying that Eliza Rose doesn't say anything about the game of kick the can to Tobin. At least if I can tell him first, it won't be as bad as if it would be hearing it from her. There. Tobin follows the direction from her finger and pointing. At the tree line. And she nods. Tobin and I start toward the back porch steps, and Eliza Rose hesitates on the top step, holding onto the pillar at the top of the stairs. I turn around and I look at her. It scared me to death, she says. There's fear in her eyes, and I really believe her. This isn't a hoax or a joke or a bear or a guy in a suit. No one's laughing on the other end of the green phone now. It's okay, I tell her, reaching out to touch her arm. Whatever it was, it's gone now. She smiles, and she looks a bit embarrassed. Right, sorry. It was so scary. Can I just tell you the story from up here? I really don't want to go back out there right now. Sure, I say, ignoring the exasperated sigh leaking out of Tobin. We all settle on the white wicker furniture with fluffy floral cushions. Eliza Rose on a rocking chair, me on the ottoman, and Tobin on a small bench against the porch rail. Tells exactly what happened. Tobin has his pen poised over his yellow legal pad. Well, it was right when we were getting dark, and we were playing Capture the Flag that night, she starts, and then she turns to me. It's like Kick the Can, but not really. Joe Kelly was there, Mae Cunningham, Bo Stitch, and, oh yeah, Nick French. And she starts listing all the names on her fingers. And J-Man, doesn't he have the greatest dimples? I glance at Tobin. His eyebrows are scrunched together, and he's looking at me suspiciously over his wire rims. About the Bigfoot, Eliza Rose, I say. Right, yeah. So me and May were on Nick French's team, and he had to hide our flag just inside the tree line under his dead tree on the ground. We found a hole in the tree, and we folded up the flag, and we hid it there. Technically, we weren't supposed to go into the forest, but Nick French does. It's not like it's cheating, and, well, me and May said, okay, if we could get to the sighting sooner rather than later, that would be helpful. Tobin interrupts her. I give him a look. What? He asks. She turns to me. It's part of the story. Yeah, I get that, I say. Just take your time. Tobin huffs another big sigh. Anyway, the other team tried and tried to find the flag and couldn't, and it was getting dark. Even though the back porch light was on, it was still dark, especially out there. She points to the woods. My mom has been nagging at my dad to put more lights back there, but he's been so busy, he just hasn't got to it yet, you know? Tobin has stopped scribbling on his notepad, and he's holding his chin in his hand, staring at Eliza Rose, with a completely annoyed look on his face. Anyway, the other team lost and got kind of mad, especially Joe Kelly and J-Man. You know, they're big babies anyway when it comes to losing. But they started accusing Nick of cheating by hiding the flag in the woods when we agreed that the tree line was the boundary. So we all headed to find the flag and... At what? Tobin bursts out in frustration, his arms wide in the air. That's when we saw it, she says. Saw what exactly, Eliza Rose? I ask. That beast, she whispers. Let me stop you there, Tobin says. It's not a... Let her finish. I hold up my hand, hoping to save us all from yet another Bigfoot or People 2 lecture. He was just standing there, she points to the woods again, crouched down behind the dead tree, like he was what? Like he was watching us play. And then she laughs. It sounds weird, doesn't it? But that's what it seemed like. What did you do? I breathe. I don't know if I ever really thought it was true, you know? I mean, I've heard stories and all that, but there was this part of me that thought it was just a legend, a story that's not really true, you know? Yes, I say. But it's not just a story. And she turns to Tobin. He's scribbling on his pad. When he's done, he looks up at her and leans forward on the bench. It's not a story, Eliza Rose. They're real. I know that now, she says. So what did you do? I ask again. I think I may have screamed, or at least someone did. Maybe it was May. It's hard to remember now. Then everyone started yelling, and my daddy came running out of the house with a rifle and... A rifle? Tobin stands up. What the heck for? She looks at him in surprise. It's a wild animal loose in the woods. It would have been the same if it had been a bear, a cougar, or something close to the yard. Actually, I think that's what he thought it was at first when he raced out of the house. Tobin sighs and starts pacing the porch. What if he'd shot him? He asks, pointing his pen at Eliza Rose. She thinks about the question. Well, I guess there'd finally be proof, and no one would ever doubt it again. You're lucky, Lem, she says to me. If we'd seen that thing that day we were playing kick the can, you'd be scared as me. Tobin turns and looks at me. I don't even know the words that would describe the look on his face. It was like a combination of surprise and hurt and anger and disgust all at the same time. It looks like I punched him hard in the gut, and he didn't see it coming. A rifle, Tobin exclaims, while we trudge through Eliza Rose's backyard toward the tree line. You guys be careful, Eliza Rose hollers from the safety of her back porch. A rifle! Can you even imagine? I know it, Tobin, I say. I heard her. I was sitting right next to you. Why in the world would anybody want to kill a Bigfoot? It's the most idiotic thing I've ever heard of. See? What did I tell you about those modus operandi? Hiding. I'd do the same if I could. There's nothing worse than people. They're awful. I'd go and hide away forever with Bigfoot if I could. What about your mom? We'd let her visit, he says. And your dad? He ignores me. When I see the fallen log at the tree line, I point to it. That must be it right there, I say. I've got eyes, he snaps. You think I'd know if you pointed out? I can do it all by myself. Why don't you just go back to HQ and man the phone in case we get another call? See, I told you were mad. How many times do I have to tell you I'm not mad? I don't care what you do. Good, I say then. You don't care if I stay. Ugh. Tobin sighs long and loud, setting his black leather case on top of the log. Then he trudges through the grass and pushes through low, hanging branches to look around. No footprints, he tells me. Too grassy. I push through branches to the other side of the tree, scanning the woods. A mosquito lands on my arm, and I swat at it. What else should we look for? Any signs that we're here. Tobin has his magnifying glass. We got to look for hair or scat. Again with the number 2. It's so disgusting. We both push deeper into the woods. Him in one direction and me in the other. Even though it's sunny and warm, the light only sprinkles its glow between the tall pine branches reaching toward the sky. Birds are chirping and pine cones slowly fall between branches to the soft bed of needles below, and my stomach growls. I wish I thought to bring a Twinkie with me, especially since we didn't have time for even one of Mrs. Dickerson's marinade cloud cookies or time to order sandwiches from Diesel's. Just when I'm about to give up, something grabs at the back of my head, pulling my hair. Ouch! I reach behind me to try to free myself from a crooked branch, but the more I try, the more I get tangled. My fingers work at the knot, but while they do, hairs are being pulled straight out of my scalp. When I finally get myself undone, I can see that the branch has snagged a good handful of my curly red hair. But that's not all I see. Next to the long red hairs is an even bigger clump of thick, reddish brown fur. Tobin! I scream. I found something!